All right, turning over the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, so welcome everyone. We'll have slides because we can't help ourselves, and it's better than looking at us the whole time. So Chris, feel free to share the slides. Okay,
Voila.
voila. Okay, first of all, it is being recorded. You don't have to come on mic, but feel free to tell us who you are, like why you're here or why you're interested in this. If you feel like, if you feel like going into your positionality, feel free to do that. And you go as deep into your positionality as you feel like. I'm Kay Novak. I'm the Assistant Director of Learning Design at Front Range Community College. I am an instructional designer. It doesn't matter for the rest of my life. I will be an instructional designer, and I will see things through the lens of instructional design. I'm not going to not be. That part doesn't go away. So, Chris, you go ahead.
Sure. My name is Chris Luchs, and I am a Dean of Instruction, and I oversee business and manufacturing. So I typically take those perspectives when I'm looking at this topic, and it's interesting to see how things have rapidly changed when it comes to privacy, open source, and looking at how we're leveraging data. It's interesting that we have all these free services and even not free services, and in either case, we are the product. We are the commodity that's being traded when it comes to our data and the data that we generate through our consumption. So it's kind of interesting to see how we've progressed there.
And I guess if we're going to also say like what we teach, let's see. I think I have CTE credentials in 4 things at the community college. Okay. Let's see. I have them, if I get this right, I have them in marketing, I have it in education, computer information systems, and I'm missing one. Oh, multimedia. Um, so right now, while I was very happily teaching a lot of computer information system courses, right now I'm teaching in business in the creative industries. It's a new bachelor's program somewhere here at Front Range Community College. Yes, it's one of the few bachelor's degrees at a community college, and I'm teaching design thinking, and I'm also teaching a project management course. So, Chris, you as an instructor.
Sure. So the first slide we have is how do our current SLOs align with the world where there is extensive applications of AI and data harvesting? So we're going ahead and
Yeah, Chris, you kind of went ahead. I was
I'm
going
jumping ahead. Yes.
yeah,
No,
you
I
jumped
teach
ahead.
I teach business, I teach management, I teach marketing, I teach multimedia graphic design, I teach computer information systems, and I've also taught education classes, and now I'm also teaching business for creative industries as well. So a long list of credentials that are there, and um, probably more to come since we're offering some additional business programming at my college. So I'm filling in for a lot of the areas that I oversee and have the ability and have the credentials in the background to qualify.
Okay, so we'll go back to focus to focusing culinary management classes. Okay,
Nice.
and anybody else?
Yay.
Yay. ESL at Ames, main role staff. Yep. And when we're talking about data justice and a student learning outcome, we'll go into those two terms, and then really it's asking your opinion and going, what would you do? How would you plan for it? So welcome everyone. So Chris, I'll take it away. I'll take the question away. Okay. So Oh, philosophy, I think, therefore I am.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. So here's the question that we have driving this for today. How do our current SLOs, and SLOs are student learning outcomes, align in a world where there is extensive application of AI and data harvesting? That was our big question. We've done sessions on data justice before, but especially at the beginning of this year, when on the news things kept getting mentioned again and again, we went, wait a second. Everybody has to know why, you know, why people shouldn't be looking at your data. Everybody needs to go, well, how can I check on how my data is being looked at? And how do I opt in? How do I opt out? And things like that. Uh, so that's where we're coming from. And the thing about it, at the different institutions that you're at, I mean, the student learning outcomes might be, like on every page, every website page, and they might also go ahead and be on, they might go ahead and be on every, every syllabus. Some institutions do that, some don't. We pulled the ones from the college I'm at, Front Range Community College, and these are our SLOs. We have 5 institutional student learning outcomes. And you might be on a student learning committee or assessment committee. You might be very familiar with your student learning outcomes, or you might be at an institution that doesn't put them on every syllabi. That does not, put them on all the websites. But these are the ones here at Front Range Community College. Our information and technology literacy one is, is it could have been the same for 1990. Okay. It could,
So are you saying that it's timeless, or are you saying that it's dated?
I don't know. I mean, when there used to be a thing called a library where you went and you
you had
got
cards, and you went to a
you
card
got
catalog,
and you had to use a number and a dot and some letters to go and find information. Would this have worked then for the technology?
I think so.
Okay, so
Because microfiche would be multiple platforms of media. So.
okay, so and then we're going to show the one at Chris's college. So this is Community College of Denver. Theirs are a little different. And student learning outcomes on an institutional level, sometimes there are similar ones, like, look, quantitative literacy, both the schools had it. Effective communication, yes. Critical thinking, yes. Intercultural literacy, Front Range did not have that. And CCD does not have information and technology literacy. And Chris will go into detail later on accreditation and why some show up and some don't. But let's get started with the rest of it.
Now the rest of the story.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about our current situation in the world, if you haven't seen this, I think 900-page book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Shoshana started writing this in about 2015, and her and other people started to introduce the idea that there is a behavioral futures market where individual and group data is bought, sold, and predictions and expected earnings are based on the success and failure. And if you came in right at the beginning, both Chris and Brandon were talking about is if there's no product, then you're the product. If you're getting something for free, chances are it's not. Chances are they're taking your data and using it for something. And the other thing about our world today, you know, um, the partnership started in 2019. AI really kicked off in November 2022. But I mean, so much so that even the financing, Microsoft invested $1 billion in OpenAI, but look at the structure of this financing. It's called a cap profit. You can only make 100 times your investment. So think about what this is like compared to anything else you can invest in. You're going to get anything else you're investing in, you could, as much money as the organization makes, you get that percentage of based on your investment. But this one, they capped it. Yeah, they are. They are trying to transition from a privately, to a for-profit entity, because then they can sell shares and make more money.
And they also click out a lot of their board members from their
Okay.
nonprofit days.
So other terms to be familiar with: algorithm is simple instructions that direct a computer to carry out a function built around and or are not logics. Large language models, you've been seeing these a lot because it's explaining AI, deep learning algorithms that perform a variety of natural language processing tasks. Okay, now something that we throw out there, you can look for this book, Algorithms of Oppression. This was published probably around 2018. And this really goes into some of the problems about algorithms and Google. And also nowadays, it'd be how AI is being trained, and who's being represented and who's not being represented. And we're just throwing this out here, while it's beautiful about OpenAI and isn't this wonderful? At the same point in time, OpenAI subcontracted to a company that then went and used Kenyan workers for less than $2 an hour to make ChatGPT less toxic. So they were screening things out, and they were being paid less than $2 an hour. And we showed you how much financing OpenAI was getting, but at the same point in time, they're doing it on the labor of people who are being paid very, very little, and OpenAI is subcontracting out for that. Some other things with our world of today, you can take this one, Chris.
Sure. You're also seeing nations and countries going ahead and implementing data protection regulation. The one that got the most coverage is the GDPR for the EU, and looking at the restrictions thereof and requirements that they're holding. Any institution that collects data must have certain pieces, like a chief information officer, who will be the main point of contact if there's any compliance issues. Also, there's a bunch of states now. Originally, California led the way, quickly followed by Virginia, and then Colorado, Connecticut, and Utah, among others. And they went ahead and passed their own privacy laws that now also restrict how businesses and define how businesses can use data collected on their consumers. So it's going to be interesting this is an interesting world that we're navigating as far as what are you allowed to collect, what are you not allowed to collect, different things like that, and keeping up with all of the changes that are going on, especially if you're drawing students from different states to your own. So that's going to be one of the things that would definitely with higher ed has to think about. But any business that works inside their state or outside of their state will have to work with all of these different regulations that are out there.
Okay, some other things is the Department of Government Efficiency and new. And if you've been paying attention, they've primarily been looking for access to data. And the way that they've been doing it, at least from what we can garner, is they're using Microsoft Azure, which is an AI to go looking for things. It's how they're saying that they're looking for the inefficiencies. And some other things. Doge is planning a hackathon at the IRS. It wants easier access to taxpayer data, and repeatedly referred to the software company Palantir as a possible partner in creating a mega API at the IRS. You'll also see that this company, headquartered in Denver, has partnered a lot with the Department of Defense. It had a partnership with Google until the Google employees protested so much that Google decided to no longer partner with them. And the reason why is what they were partnering on was facial recognition, surveillance, and the Google employees found out that the company was planning on sharing this for purposes of war. And the Google employees protested because they did not want to be involved in creating a weapon. So go ahead. But that hasn't stopped them. Palantir is still looking to do that deal. It's called Project Maven, and they're continuing on with that. And that's a company that the Department of Government Efficiency says that they want to partner with. It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet, and I'm only basing this on press reports. Okay, it could have happened. It might just be that no journalist has found it or reported on it yet. Some other things that you'll be seeing, Doge has asked for personal data within the Department of Education. Also Homeland Security and other places have also been trying to get information that might be help them detain immigrants. Go ahead. And yes, we get right to that. Okay, if you've been watching TikTok, there's been some TikTok lately on Doge looking at loan data. Sorry, Doge looking at that information or that information being given out, it does not qualify under FERPA. Okay, and the reason why is FERPA only applies to colleges, universities, schools, and institutions. And Brandon said, my debt is 100% part of my academic record. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Okay, so it's been going back and forth in the courts. We could get there could be an announcement right now that's happening on the news while we're not watching, saying a judge has now allowed it, or it's now gone up to the Supreme Court. So we're going back and forth with that, with the privacy and data rights. Now, one of the other ones that also ends up getting involved when it comes to like data and privacy and just shutting things down is the National Institution for Health, the National Science Foundation, things being frozen. And some of these things being frozen are dependent on quite honestly AI searches. Excellent. Excellent tie-in, Brandon.
Random facts I can recall from my life.
No, it's perfect that the National Science Foundation, what's happening, reaches out to all of us and especially students who are studying science. So Chris, if you could go to the next one, please. And so of course, then we're getting these words are disappearing in the new Trump administration. We'll talk about this more, but it's an AI that's going ahead and searching for these terms, and you have to think that about that AI, and if at some point in time your name is going to be searched along with any of these things here. Okay, continue, Chris, please. And then we're also hearing this. 2 days ago, the IRS acting commissioner stepped down because the Department of Homeland Security is asking for taxpayer data. And when it comes to taxpayer data, there's always been a wall up with the IRS that the IRS doesn't share information with other agencies, but now it is going to be given to the Department of Homeland Security. So these are all the factors that are happening that our students, have to deal with. And these are the factors that are happening on us. So we wanted to bring that all in when we consider, does there need to be a data justice student learning outcome, or does that information and the technology literacy outcome need to be rewritten to include AI, also to include everywhere where data can be happening?
Anyone has any concerns over what you've listened to so far? Or any questions that may have been raised?
It's all fine.
Yeah, good.
It's all
It's
fine.
good. It's an academic discussion.
Yeah.
So, real quick, I was in a session yesterday and I was kind of asking questions around privacy concerns in the use of AI or AI detectors for writing things that may not be supported by an institution, and the response was, students don't really care about this, and so they're I tried to further that discussion. We did get to the point where it's like, well, things are kind of unsure now, but this is the future, right? AI is what's going to be out there, and so learning how to use it and use it effectively on both the teaching and learning side needs to happen sooner than later. And the students don't care part is what really hit me, because if students don't care, then we should be the ones who care, because it is a problem. Yeah, and Christine, I see that, you wonder if students don't care or don't really understand. I don't think they understand, right? When you click a little toggle that says, yeah, personalized experience, that means they're gathering, analyzing, selling your data to their partners, right? Which is another euphemism for their customers, right? The people they can sell that data to. So yeah, absolutely. I really do think that data justice needs to be top of mind for students, because it only took me 30 something years to figure it out for myself.
And Chris put there, under what
Mhm.
circumstances. You're right. If you want to be a TikTok influencer, maybe you don't care. Okay. But when it comes to, like you said, loan information on you, eh, maybe you don't want, maybe the student wouldn't want that shared. And I'll tell you something that we're doing. We're doing it in two of our business and creative industries courses. We're having students use generative AI, but we put a caveat on that, and our caveat on it was we're sending them to Firefly AI, because Firefly AI has been trained on the stock Adobe stock photos, rather than pulling from anyone anywhere on the web and taking in
Mhm.
copyrighted images. So I know in the two classes where we're having them do that, we have that, and we talk to them about that's why we're using Firefly AI.
I want to take a second and go back to Brandon's comment about the students not caring and kind of playing the voice of the advocate here. But I mean, the generation up and coming and even beyond that, I mean, we're talking about folks in their entering their 30s now were born into a digital age. And
Mhm.
it's just part of their life that their information's out there. That from the get-go, I remember seeing a couple of years ago an article about a young lady who was upset that her mom shared her baby pictures, because now that's just out there, and she grew up with her baby pictures being out on the internet her whole life. But it's not just baby pictures; all your information's out there. I mean, it's not hard to find if you're a nefarious type person trying to get information. It's out there. So they're just used to that. I think they're numb to the fact that uh, that's just the way of life now.
Yeah, and like a lot of it is just looking at, it's like the TikTok piece was, anytime a reporter on the street would talk to anyone of a certain age, they'd be like, I don't care if China or somebody else is seeing what my viewing habit is in TikTok, because they view it as entertainment. And they're like, well, that's the same as the Nielsen ratings on my TV, whenever I watch shows or watch streaming downloads and stuff. So I also wonder if it's the categorization of, they just go, this is leisure, or this is this is entertainment consumption, so therefore it's not a big deal. However, when we start getting into personal information, like your scores on the AccuPlacer, or your SATs, or your grade point average, different things like that, I'm wondering if that'll change their questions. But some of the questions that we thought of as we were going through this, and sort of we continue working through this area, is should access to health, financial, legal, and other personal information be allowed for purposes of efficiency? Why are they needed? How does this all fit into efficiency based on all the information? What are the safeguards and governance to ensure that such data is accessed and used appropriately? And then who defines appropriately, of course, is the other question, and the unwritten question there. Jing, go ahead and raise hand.
Yeah, this is a very interesting discussion. I always feels like so ironic is, originally from China, and now I feels like I'm living China.
Oh gosh.
During pandemic, there is all people, they use their WeChat because they collect all the information to prevent, those kind of disease, virus spread out, right? So by that chance, we can assume all the people was under that monitor, because that's the one app in China. So I'm so feels like so lucky I'm not in that system. So I'm in here. But today, when I look at those things, I just feels like, oh, it's the data now is like public also on everywhere. However, there's another situation, if you see TikTok, somehow they have two different versions. One is for Chinese, another one is for outside of the China. So at least at some point, we can have some contract or argumentation around that TikTok version. At some point we can protect it. However, once the government not give very clear or boundary on that, people don't need to use TikTok. Then they come to Little Red Book. I'm not sure, have you heard about that?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
another,
yeah. It was funny. Yeah.
it's worse, okay? Because that one has no any protection on that. It's getting worse. So, but it just like people, what's the reason people transfer and move on from one to another one, even they are willing to suffer their data to a different country, and which is not protected. So I feel this is some politically, or I'd say maybe there is some strategy we need to think about. It's not you can prevent, people can go anywhere from different places, they zigzag. But why they going that place? What's the driving force? Maybe that's something we need to think through, right? We have so many Instagram, we have so many things here. Why they try something somewhat risky? Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's just my 2 cents.
No, I think I think it's great that you shared that with us. and I'm because I learned about Red Note, because of the people people who are afraid that they would lose the kind of connection that they have on TikTok. And a whole bunch of Americans went over there over that because they're afraid that TikTok would be leaving. And so thank you so much for bringing that up. Okay.
Well, exactly. I mean, like those are the things that some consumers are willing to do to go after their content, and they don't understand what's going in there. Yeah, what a world. Well, and other questions are who owns the data? The government, you, a third party? How does someone opt out? Can you opt out? Is there an opt-out button? How do you correct anything that's incorrect? Someone does a bad merge, or different things like that. Those are all questions that the previous scenarios raise. And then the next question we have here is sort of how do our institutions model our various learning outcomes when it comes to data collection and its use? Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So when you think about it, when it comes to our data collection, there's learner analytics. So, everything, we want to quantify everything. There's predictive analytics. We want to go, okay, these are students that are going to walk that razor's edge between a C and a D, and we want to figure out how we can help push them to the C side, and help support them so they don't fail. We also have the fear of AI and use in copy and pasting going on. So we also have Turnitin, among others, to go ahead and make sure that content is original content and not AI content. But it also doesn't end with instruction. You have early alert systems. We have SMS and other communication devices that are out there. We have apps that people have to download. We have guidebooks that require your download on your phone. We also are now using customer relationship management systems, CRM platforms. So anyone who's used EAB Navigate, or your college may use Salesforce, which is actually a for-profit CRM that's out there. So there's all these different things that are out there. And don't forget our reporting to local, state, and federal agencies. That's public, and people can go ahead and have access to that. That's usually aggregated data. And then we also have institutional websites and social media platforms that we use and push out as colleges. All of those various different platforms and channels, someone's collecting data whenever you access it. Both the college is doing it, as well as the IP provider, as well as the everything's being recorded. Just assume that what's going on right now. And so all that data is being grabbed, and it's one of those things where the why behind it. Why are we doing it? So everyone likes to say student success. That's why we're doing it. We need to have this data that's out there to show that our students are being successful. But there's also mandatory reporting. HLC requires that we do certain things. That's our accreditor here in Colorado. And so there's also institutional efficiencies that we're looking to do to implement. Structural effectiveness is another area. Data-driven decision-making. How many of you have heard that over and over and over again with data-driven decision-making? Looking at performance evaluation for both students and faculty as they are going through. Also looking at gap analysis for services and support. And a lot of these things, we're also using additional third-party solutions to help us process our data. And so the question is where is that data housed? Who owns it? All of those things we were talking about before, and just in the world in general. Now you're also seeing that just for ourselves. And a lot of times it's like, well, it's FERPA. We have different contractual agreements in terms of service. But one of the things that you're running into is, how many of you have been presented with this question? What are the gaps? What are the gaps in the data? What more data do we need to collect? What do we need to do with this data? What other concerns? Feel free to type in the chat or hop on mic.
I was just catching up on the HLC and
Mhm.
how higher learning, the Higher Learning Commission and other accreditation associations are the people who usually ask for student learning outcomes. Like, oh, what do we want our students to learn? Student learning outcomes. How do you know if the students are learning them? Oh, well, you assess them on it. And a lot of different programs that have different kinds of accreditation also will have individual programmatic ones. And
Yeah,
Chris, I was going to say, unless we have something, I'd say we move on because of the
Yep, we'll
time.
go ahead and move on. Yep, that's fine.
Data collection isn't inherently nefarious. No, I don't think it
No.
is either. Okay. But what I would say is a lot of times things get things. Okay. So a lot of things that get quantified, this is my opinion. Well, this is my opinion. Get quantified and don't get looked at qualitatively. So the mere number dictates decisions rather than getting a bigger picture, and people then become about the number of DWs and Fs matter more than the experience of the student. So this was our question. Do we need a new data focused SLO? Like for our students and for us. And so we're going that data justice might be a path forward. And data justice, fairness in the way people are made visible, represented, and then treated as a result of their digital data. And that's the big thing, I think, Brandon. Data collection, not inherently evil, okay? But how is the data being collected? Is everyone being represented when resources when resources are being shared? People who are unrepresented don't get the resources. And also how people are treated as a production of their digital data. Yeah, I think that all of our data folks might need to be trained with that. You can continue on, Chris. Okay, invisibility or visibility. The thing of it is, even when they say aggregate, even when they say, oh, we'll make it so no one knows, a lot of people know. And I will tell you, I've seen learning designers and IT people to be the least likely people to take a campus climate survey. The reason why is they go, if you really want to track it, there's ways to track it. If you really want to know, you check the IP, the internet protocol on whoever submitted that. And then you'd have you could have a good idea of where exactly that came from. And it's not that hard. Continue on, Chris. Do you have the right to oblivion or the right to be forgotten? I mean, can you have the information, photos, and videos deleted and not show up in search engines? In the EU, you can.
Mhm.
Us in the US, not so much.
Nope.
I think Jing is going to say no. If we ask her to speak for China, I think she's going to say, yeah, no. Okay, keep going, Chris. Yeah, on a time crunch.
Sure.
Okay, also disengagement, disengagement with the technology. Can you disengage? A lot of times, yeah, Jing said a big no. Okay, disengagement with technology. In our current form, think if you're listening to the news, this has been happening with the Social Security Office. They are taking the ability to call in was taken away for a certain number of days. Supposedly, it is back now that senior citizens, especially, can now call if they're having problems with Social Security rather than only having to go to a website. Okay, so it's back to the, are you allowed to disengage? Okay, the Social Security Administration, based on Doge efficiencies, was trying to get away with your ability to engage. Keep scrolling, Chris. Anti-discrimination, redlining. This has continually happened in the US. That data, it has been used to discriminate when lending to particular ethnic groups.
Yeah, tie
And
it to the zip code.
yeah,
And or the census tract. And you're
Mhm.
like, these are the factors that's there. It's not because of who lives there, it's because of all the data that comes out of that area that makes this a bad investment for us.
yeah. So this neutral amorphous group of people live there. It just so happens if they live there, then they shouldn't get a look. Okay, continue. Okay, so some of the things, there is a group that's done some work on our data bodies, especially with people of color, and whether or not they're counted in a lot of the health measures, community measures. And again, it goes back to resources. Who gets the resources? And if you're just basing it on data and looking only quantitatively, that's where where problems come. Keep going, Chris. Data for Black Lives is an organization that started pre-COVID that looked again at how African Americans were showing up in the data and if they were being counted at all. Digital defense book, it's excellent if you ever want to take a look at it from our data bodies. It's excellent. It's excellent, and it has a community focus. Maybe we need a digital defense book for our students. Or if it's our institutions, maybe our institutions might want to look at how to protect student data. Yeah, new AAA class. Okay, some of the other things are murdered and missing Indigenous women. The number that was happening was not getting reported through law enforcement. So a big problem was not being looked at at all. And this is Uni Global. This is a labor organization, workers, digital rights. Do the students need this? Data processing, transparent, privacy laws, respected, full explanation of data being used. Think about the workers in Amazon warehouses. And again, if we had a student learning outcome about this, students would be able to make decisions about places that they're working at, or if their workplace has unfair practices, they can think about if their place of work is trying to be unionized, having data rights included in it. Keep going, Chris, because I know we're ending. This was the Algorithm Accountability Act of 2019. Then COVID hit, and currently we're not discussing that much in Congress. So, but there's the idea of digital sovereignty, that citizens in their roles as employees, consumers, and users of digital technology and services, that they have the right to be included or not included in. That's digital sovereignty. So we've come here now to having 3 minutes left for a brainstorm and design
Hey, that's
challenge.
plenty of time to come up with an SLO.
Okay,
3 minutes?
So I mean, that's kind of like our question is if you were to come up with a student learning outcome, what would it be? And if you were to put it around AI and data privacy and data governance, what ideas would you have? And this is like the example of an accreditation to, that goes and looks at students' success goals when they evaluate your university or college. Self-host of all of your services. Oh my gosh. Immediately we would be told, yes, ask ChatGPT about this. I think, and you know what? Unfortunately, I think since the availability of ChatGPT, I think a lot of people are plugging their, we need student learning outcomes, or we need learning objectives. Just give that to ChatGPT. I think a lot of people are doing that, and thanks for bringing it up, because are you handing over what what ends up being like the pillars or the foundations of education at your college to AI? I mean, think about that. What if all the colleges and universities started to go, yeah, we'll put it in ChatGPT first, and then we'll see about it. I can tell you at my college, we went through lengths and like years worth of meetings to come up with the student learning outcomes. And I don't know what it would have been like if we had AI then to write it for us. You see a move to more institutional guidelines currently. No, I don't. I do not see that institutions are looking at it from a data privacy perspective, or what technologies we should use, or where the information's coming from. I'm seeing lots of guidelines out how students should use AI in class. I'm seeing like our community college system is coming up soon with guidelines that they're going to put out. And there's been committees, but I've never gotten an email saying, would you like to be on a committee when it comes to the AI protocol? I think I've been seeing more like the top level stuff.
Yeah, that and the other piece to it is usually most comments you get is when you ask about these type of things is, well, that's covered in the admissions form. When students sign up, they give us a release to use this information, or it is disclosed in the course materials. Information that we're using this technology, and there is a presumption that students understand that if they use technology, then they understand that data is being collected on them. Yeah. Oh no.
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right about that.
Yeah, everyone has you write your application essay, and then they'll run it through Turnitin or something to see if it was AI generated.
Well, thank you for coming to the session. I'm sorry we didn't have more time to write out a student learning outcome. But this session was always supposed to be really like more a thought piece. So thank you.
I really want to say two things. One, first, please fill out a session eval. Link is in chat. I can paste it there again for everyone. If I don't do it like 3 times accidentally. There we go. And the other one is, okay, Chris, I really think we need to do a podcast episode on this and invite members of the elk community to come and share and discuss and, tear it all down. We'll solve it in an hour.
Yeah, we'll have it. Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you all.
See you.